Welcome into Locked On Phillies. In today's episode, the Phillies are embarrassingly swept out of Los Angeles against the Dodgers. What in the world's going on with this team? And how is Bryce Harper's return to play gone? We'll discuss it all on today's episode of Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. I've been talking Phillies baseball for years now, lifelong fan, credentialed Philadelphia Phillies media member. Locked On Phillies is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Go ahead and check out my friends over at GameTime. Now, the Philadelphia Phillies, following up that opportunity in Houston to sweep, which they unfortunately didn't finish, but a good series in Houston. They headed out to L.A., to Los Angeles, to take on the Dodgers and go ahead and test their mettle against one of the top teams in the National League. And I'll tell you what, folks, didn't go well. Didn't go well at all. The Philadelphia Phillies, they end up getting swept out of L.A. Their first series of May goes 13-4 to the Dodgers, 13-1 to the Dodgers, and then 10-6 to the Dodgers in a game that was tied in the ninth yesterday and ended in a walk-off grand slam. So we'll break down those games one by one. We'll talk about a little bit of what happened in those games, and then we're going to get into a discussion about why that happened. And we'll also take a slight look forward at the Boston Red Sox series upcoming. Now, the full preview of that series is going to be on tomorrow's episode, so make sure you tune in for that and check out tomorrow's episode. But let's start with Game 1 of Phillies-Dodgers, a 13-4 win back on May 1st. Just flat out, it wasn't good for Taijuan Walker, and it was his first start since having that forearm soreness. So you're like, let's see how he looks. Let's see how comfortable he is. And he ends up looking very, very bad in this game. He only goes 3 1/3 innings pitched. He gives up 8 hits, 8 earned runs. He walks 3. He struck out 6, but just not good work by him at all. And then the bullpen, I mean, by the time he was already out and he had given up 8 earned runs, you're waving the white flag with the bullpen. So they didn't really throw anybody, and there's nothing to be gained there. But yeah, Will Smith hit a homer in the first. Peralta hit a homer in the second, a 3-run homer. Hayward hit a home run in the third. I mean, the only bright spots for the Philadelphia Phillies, we got a Schwarber in that series. So he homered to right field. It was one of those cheapo down the line at Dodger Stadium home runs, but it's listed as 343 here on the ESPN app, which means probably would have been out of Citizens Bank Park if the angle was right. I don't know. Schwarber gets a home run. That's cool. But then the Dodgers hang runs 7 and 8 on Taijuan Walker in the fourth inning without him recording the second out. So that's just it was a terrible game. Cody Clemens ended up pitching at the end. We have a position player pitching for the third time this year for the Philadelphia Phillies in this game. And offensively, they're just like, I don't even know what really to say about the offensive performance by the Philadelphia Phillies. They didn't really do all that much. Stott was 1 for 4. Turner was 1 for 4. Kyle Schwarber was 1 for 3 with that home run. Nick Castellanos and Brandon Marsh both went 2 for 4. That's fine. That's good. You love that. Romito 1 for 4. Bohm 1 for 4. Cody Clemens 0 for. Edmundo Sosa 0 for. It was a series to forget for Edmundo Sosa. It wasn't a great offensive game by the Phillies. They put up 4 runs, but I mean, that was kind of like most of those runs came after the Dodgers had already clean put this one away, so 13-4. So that's one of those games where you're like, okay, Walker was bad. And Taijuan Walker, you're going to see a theme as we go through these games. But Taijuan Walker has been rough this year. He hasn't commanded the baseball well. He's walking too many people. He's getting into too many disadvantageous counts. And it's putting him in spots where he's forced to attack hitters and he's giving up home runs. He's got to figure something else out because I thought he was a better pitcher than this. I still think he is a better pitcher than this, but he's not showing it to this point this year. And that's a problem. If that's going to be all year long, Taijuan Walker, he's going to have to be your 5th starter behind Bailey Falter. And Bailey Falter hasn't been all that good lately. But hopefully Ranger Suarez will come back soon. Taijuan Walker, not a great start for the Philadelphia Phillies in Game 1 of this series. Just couldn't command the baseball anywhere. I don't understand at all what he was doing in that one, and it led to a position player pitching. Just keep reminding yourselves of that thought of a position player pitching, because it sucks to see your team have to do that. It might seem funny and fun at the time, but no, that means your team most likely got their teeth kicked in. Now, game two was an opportunity to go ahead and bounce back. You had Matt Strom on the mound, who he's been really good at points, but we know when he has a bad game, he has a bad game. And this was not a good game. Matt Strom ended up going only 3 1/3 innings pitched as well, just like Taijuan Walker. Now, he gave up half the amount of runs. He only gave up 6 hits and 4 earned runs, as opposed to Walker's 8 hits and 8 home runs, but just as bad. Didn't go deep into the game. The bullpen was already taxed, and it was a situation where you hang the same guys out to dry. Like Junior Marte threw in both of those 13-run games. There's one other guy who threw in both those 13-run games. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, it was just it was a parade for the Dodgers the whole time. Max Muncy had a sacrifice fly to score Freddie Freeman in the first inning. Then Mookie Betts singled to center for a 2 RBI single. The fourth, Trey Turner homered to center field. That's a positive, I guess. I mean, the offense wasn't awful in this series. I know you see 13-1 and you think, wow, not only were they bad pitching, but they were bad offensively. No, I didn't see this as a bad offensive series. I just saw this as the starting pitchers got behind the 8 ball and didn't give the Phillies a chance to really fight back. Mookie Betts had another 2 RBI single in the fourth. Taylor, a 2 RBI double. Vargas, a 2 RBI double. Freddie Freeman, a 2-run home run. Outman, a 1 RBI single in the eighth. Vargas, another 2 RBI single in the eighth. I mean, it's hard to even keep track of what happened in these games. And yeah, Cody Clemens, he pitched again. He was like the first position player in baseball since 1800 something to pitch twice. And there was like a time where there was some position player, they talked about it on the broadcast, but it was like there was some position player who was transitioning to becoming a pitcher for whatever reason way back in the day. And he pitched like back-to-back days out of the pen to try and get himself used to it. I don't know. Having a position player pitch in back-to-back games for you is flat out embarrassing. That ridiculous. It can't happen. I don't know. I don't understand what the Philadelphia Phillies pitchers are doing, but you can clearly see where the trend of where I think the problem with this team is right now. I'll give you a hint. It's not the bullpen, and it's also not the lineup. And then you just take a look at Game 3 yesterday, where it's like, okay, the Philadelphia Phillies, they have a chance. They hop up 5-0 on the Dodgers. Had a really good offensive output. I mean, you look at the box score, and I mean, they got one in the first. The Phillies got one in the first on a Bryson Stott sacrifice fly to score Trey Turner. But then the third inning is where they really turn it on. Nick Castellanos doubled to left, scoring Bryce Harper, who had doubled. Alec Bohm singles, scores Castellanos. Edmundo Sosa singles, scores Bohm. Garrett Stubbs, bunt single, scores Marsh, who was on third. And just like that, it's 5-0, and you have Aaron Nola on the mound, and you're like, okay, we're fine. And then the third, Aaron Nola gives one back, and you're like, oh, here we go. And it was a bit of a situation where there were runners on the base pass. And then in the fourth, Aaron Nola gives up a 2-run home run, and it's 5-3. And then in the seventh, Aaron Nola gives up another run to as Freddie Freeman has sacrificed fly to right field. Next thing you know, you're in a 1-run game. And then in the eighth, against Jose Alvarado, line drive gets hit to left field. Well, line drive gets hit to third base, rather, and Edmundo Sosa doesn't make the play. A lot of people have been saying that Edmundo Sosa has not been good over at third base this year. He's a more natural middle infielder. The second part of that's true. I don't know that he's been that bad at third base, especially comparative to how Alec Bohm was last year at third base. But yeah, it was a rough series for Edmundo Sosa. It has people pining for the Phillies to go out and get a first baseman so that Alec Bohm can go back to third base and Edmundo Sosa can go back to utility guy. I don't know. All I know is Aaron Nola with a 5-run lead absolutely can't choke away what should have been a win. But the Phillies give up 2 runs in the eighth to make it 6-5. Bryson Stott comes through with an RBI single late to score Bryce Harper at 6-6, and the Phillies have to face the bottom of the ninth, and Craig Kimbrell goes out and gives up a walk-off grand slam to Max Muncy. So it's not like Edmundo Sosa cost them the game. He probably cost them a good 20 minutes worth of their time, because if he just if he had made the play, they wouldn't had to have tied it up or whatever, and then they could have just given the walk-off faster. I don't know. It just wasn't a good series. There's not a lot of positives to pull out of that one. And the only positive we'll talk about a little bit later on about Bryce Harper. And we'll talk about it when we discuss the next series. But Bryce Harper looked good. That's it. Long term, I think the Phillies are fine. But coming up next, we're going to get into what I think is the biggest problem with the Philadelphia Phillies right now, and that's the starting pitching. And how did the Philadelphia Phillies fix it? Oh, they will, and they will soon. I'll tell you why coming up next as we continue Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about the GameTime app, okay? Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. GameTime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you could stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. So, listen to this. The Philadelphia 76ers took Game 1 in Boston of the NBA Eastern Conference semifinals. Then they got smoked in Game 2. But Joel Embiid, he's been named NBA MVP. They're going to give him his trophy Friday night at the Wells Fargo Center. And Game Time can help you be there. Go ahead and check out Game Time for last-minute tickets to Sixers Celtics. That's going to be one of the games of the year at Philadelphia Sports. You're going to have to want to check it out. And you say, Connor, the game's Friday. How am I going to get tickets? Well, forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. I mean, what are you waiting for? How have I not convinced you by now? All right, fine. We'll do one more thing for you. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I also want to tell you about my friends over at So Rare. Yeah, you've heard me talk about So Rare and how cool of a setup that they have. But let me go into it a little bit more. So Rare is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across 30 Major League Baseball teams. That's all of them. If you didn't know how many Major League Baseball teams there are. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience. You keep these cards, you collect them, buy, sell them, and you compete with player cards against opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play. It's such a fun app. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next level competitions and rewards. As you go up in competitions, I should say, you go up in rewards. So listen to this. Listen to some of the prizes that you can win when you win these contests. And MLB game weeks, they happen twice weekly and span a 3 to 4 day cycle, so you can get into multiple weeks. At the end of game weeks, MLB managers on So Rare who rank at or near the top of their leaderboards with a variety of rewards, which can include So Rare scarcity cards to make your team better, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. It's awesome. There's so much stuff you can win on there. Prizes may vary depending on the competition. So head to SoRare.com/locked on. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's SoRare.com/locked on to start playing today. All right, let's get into the reason that the Philadelphia Phillies have been struggling so much as of late. It's absolutely the starting pitching. I kind of brought it up already to you, but let's dive fully into it now. Their starters have not been getting the job done. The only real type of continued success for the Philadelphia Phillies was 2 games, and it was in Houston, and it was the back-to-back starts by Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, where Nola went 8 and Wheeler went 6 and change shutout, and we're like, okay, the big boys are starting to figure it out. Now, I think those big guys will figure it out in Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, but they haven't to this point consistently yet. And another Aaron Nola start goes by the wayside yesterday. Now you get Zach Wheeler coming up in a series against the Boston Red Sox this weekend. And by the way, go ahead and check out the SiriusXM app. Phillies play the Red Sox, a chance to bounce back, and you'll see Zach Wheeler on the mound, or you'll rather hear Zach Wheeler on the mound. That game is at 6:40, I believe. Let me just double check. We're going to get into that a little bit, but I want to make sure I'm hitting this right. Sorry, 7:05 p.m. Friday night. You can hear 7:05 Eastern Standard Time. You can go to the SiriusXM app and hear every pitch of the Phillies hometown broadcast. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies to hear that Phillies Red Sox game. An opportunity for Zach Wheeler to bounce back there, but the Phillies starting pitching has been dreadful this year. The good news is part of it's injury. Aaron Nola, historically, he has down years after good years. So that's not a great sign. But also historically, he has good starts after bad starts. He's inconsistent, but he's got the potential to be good every time he steps on the mound. We'll see how it plays out. I'm not hitting the panic button on Aaron Nola. We've seen this movie before. We know when he's great, and when he's bad, he's doggy do. So we'll see how that plays out. Zach Wheeler, we got another start coming up tomorrow night to go ahead and hear from him. So see what he does there. I'm not freaking out about Zach Wheeler either. He was good in his last start against Houston. He could string stuff together. So he's still got an opportunity to string starts together. But you need the rotation to string starts together. Bailey Falter has not been good this year. He's not a guy that can consistently throw this many innings at the major league level. Maybe for like a month, he can be a fifth starter when someone gets injured. But he's not an everyday starter, and right now he has to be for this team. Taijuan Walker has been disappointing since coming to the Phillies via free agency in the New York Mets this past offseason. I thought he was going to be like a sub-4 ERA guy like he was for the Mets last year. He hasn't turned into that guy. I don't know. And the weird thing with Taijuan Walker is historically he's really, really good to start the season, and he falls off down the stretch. This year, he's been bad to start the season. So if there's a fall off coming on top of this, he might become unpitchable. I don't know. I don't know what's happening with Taijuan Walker. His command is just not there. His movement's great. He's got great movement. He's got strikeout stuff, but he can't hit the broadside of a barn with his pitches, and he's trying to be too fine with it because he's been getting hurt with the long ball too much early on in the season. That's stuff he's got to work out, but he hasn't been good. And Matt Strahm is just he's not a starting pitcher. He's a bullpen guy. Like, he's had some really incredible starts for this team relative to his skill level as a pitcher, but he can't do this forever. He can't continue to be this guy. So I just talked to you about the 5 starting pitchers on the Philadelphia Phillies, and the top 2 guys are the only ones I can even talk myself into being good right now, and those come with caveats. So how can I say the Philadelphia Phillies, they're going to fix it? Well, Aaron Nola is going to be good at points this year. We know that. He's too talented not to be. Zach Wheeler is good, and he's going to continue to be this year. Too talented not to be. Taijuan Walker, maybe there's too much pressure on him with the injuries, knowing that there's 2 guys in the rotation that aren't really starters. Maybe that relief of pressure will make him better, but he's not that important. Here's who is important and who might pitch at some point this coming week. Ranger Suarez is going to be huge for this team. You see how important he is. He's super talented. He's going to be coming off that forearm strain, hopefully sometime in the next week, is what the latest the Phillies are saying, I think is. So hopefully he'll pitch not this Boston series, but maybe in the series with the Blue Jays coming up in the middle of next week, or the Rocky series next weekend. I don't know exactly when it'll be, but he seems very close to returning. So that's good. So Ranger Suarez slots into 3. It pushes Walker down to 4. It pushes Falter to 5. It pushes Strahm to the bullpen. Your bullpen gets better because now you have Matt Strahm to use out of there. And then Andrew Painter, if he can get called up at some point this year and be the guy we think he can be, that could be a huge boost. I know I can hear people getting mad at me. You're counting on a guy who's barely pitched at Double-A to be a great Major League Baseball pitcher? And I shouldn't be, but I kind of am. I think he's the real deal, and I've staked a lot of opinions on this guy being good, and I think he's going to be. I just don't know when he's going to be healthy. It could be July, could be August, but keep an eye out for Andrew Painter, because this rotation now with Wheeler, Nola, Walker, Falter, Strahm, it sounds a lot different than Wheeler, Nola, Suarez, Walker, Painter. That sounds like a really good rotation. The first one sounds like a team that's struggling to put it together. So we'll see how that works out. But the starting pitching is the main issue with this team, and they're going to have to work on it. They're going to have to sack up and put together good starts if they want to go ahead and hold this together. Again, you'll be able to hear Zach Wheeler's next start on the SiriusXM app, 7:05 Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night. Big game for the Phillies to bounce back. You can listen to every pitch of the Phillies hometown broadcast. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies on that one. So, starting pitching, got to figure it out. Now, Coming up, we're going to wrap up by talking about how Bryce Harper looked in his first 2 games back and why he's still his MVP self. It's great. We'll discuss as we wrap up Locked On Phillies. First of all, I want to tell you about my friends over at BetterHelp. Now, let me tell you about let's start with generals. So easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you and never take a moment to think about what you need from yourself. But when we spend all of our time giving, it can leave us feeling stretched thin and burned out. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. Picture yourself on a seesaw. And sure, you can push up and down, but it doesn't quite feel the same. Therapy can be like the other kid on the seesaw that helps balance you out. They push up, you push down, this back and the other thing, and it helps you deal with the ups and downs of life. That's my own example, but hopefully that makes sense to you and gets what I'm saying. But if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonmlb today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonmlb. Go ahead and check my friends over there out. If you need that, it's the best way to do it. You can do all these types of different things to make it as flexible and easy for you as possible. So check out our friends over at BetterHelp. Now let's talk a little Bryce Harper before we're out of here, and you'll be able to see Bryce Harper play again Friday night, and you can listen to the broadcast of that Friday night, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Phillies Red Sox game. That's appointment listening on the Sirius XM app. You can hear every pitch of the Phillies hometown broadcast. Just go to the SXM app and type in Phillies in the search bar, and it'll go ahead and pull that up. And Harper was good in this series. He was 0 for 4 in his first game. A little bit disappointing. Now, this is a 13-1 loss. But then yesterday, he walked twice. He had 3 hits, including a double. He scored the game-tying run. I mean, he was a guy that was looking like one of the best players in baseball yesterday. And he's now hitting over 500. It's very, very early. He's hitting over 500. He's got the same exact swing. He hasn't once looked uncomfortable at the plate. Now, he wears this big, bulky brace that looks like a huge cast on his arm. To go ahead and protect the UCL repair and everything going on there. So I don't know how it's going to affect his base running or his ability to move around on the bases. He still seems a ways away from playing in the field, but the swing looks same as ever. He hasn't complained about any pain. It seems like he's back, and we know he played through this injury last year and went on a magical postseason run. At the plate, he looks incredible. On the bases, we saw a slide in a second to look kind of awkward. He'll have to get used to that because you don't want some injury to the lower body because you're sliding too late or awkwardly or anything. But anyone who's concerned about Bryce Harper coming back, those first 2 games say, okay, he looks good. He looks ready to go. He looks like a guy who can really help this team right now. And he was hitting the ball with some power as well. Like, it had some exit velocity. These weren't just little bloop shots. So maybe he'll leave the yard in this series with the Red Sox. But Harper is back. And this is Bryce Harper. And while there will be points of rust, it looks like he's the same old guy. So we've seen this movie before. He's a great player. He's going to be batting third. He gets everything all settled down there. We're going to talk about the lineup a little bit more on tomorrow's episode because I have some issues and I want to see the lineup for tomorrow's game before I fully rip into Rob Thompson, but it hasn't been handled well, in my opinion, bringing Bryce Harper back, but that's just by where everyone's batting. His performance has been great, and having Bryce Harper back might be just what this team needs to really pull them out of this slump, even though he played in 2 games of the slump. Being home, having that pop from the crowd will be huge. So we'll see how that plays out in tomorrow night's game. That's all for today's Locked On Phillies. Thank you for checking out Locked On Phillies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you're rating and reviewing wherever you listen to it on podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube and haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. If you're not watching on YouTube, go ahead and check it out and see why you should subscribe. Just hit that button, the subscribe button up in the top right of the profile or on the screen at the end of this video. You'll get notifications on when Locked On Phillies gets posted, and it helps you keep up with the content. So go ahead and do that. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.